Hey, I'm here to tell you something about being African. I'm African from a country called Kenya, and I tend to believe Africans are quite unique and loud in our own way. Why do I feel we are unique and special in our own ways? Without really saying people from other continents are not unique and special, I believe they are in their own way. Now let me tell you something about being African. First of all, how we are raised. Even at a tender age of around, let's say, 3 years, do you know an African child can literally cook a meal for their siblings, younger siblings. Let's assume the child, let's say maybe it's 4 years old and the sibling is around 2 years old. The 4-year-old can literally take care of the 2-year-old, and they can basically be left alone, and the 4-year-old is taking care of the 2-year-old. Yes, I lived that life. That is very normal in Africa. Trust you me, you won't even hear anybody saying, oh, it's child abuse or anything. Oh my goodness, that continent is special. I told you Africans are special people. But I think with time that probably is changing, because, well, parents are becoming more, I think, knowledgeable, and probably times have basically changed, but I don't think it has really changed much in the rural areas. Well, forget about that. Another thing that makes us special, we are loud people. We are loud, how we talk, how we laugh. Our outfits are loud. Have you ever noticed African prints are quite loud? What we call vitenges. Those that are familiar with vitenge, like from Kenya, we wear the African print, we call them kitenge. Nigerians also, I believe Ugandans also wear vitenges. Basically, like every other African, has the African print kind of fabric. Fabric with African print, basically. It may be prints of animals, prints basically, but loud. Trust you me, when that person walks in a room, you will know that's an African right there walking into the room. Loud outfits. We speak loud. Oh, you don't want to find us having a hot, like exchanging a hot topic, or probably having an exchange of maybe it's a gossip or something juicy we are talking about. Oh my goodness. We are loud people. Then we laugh. We can laugh loud. Oh my goodness, we just laugh out loudly. Unapologetically, we are just loud. We will laugh until you know, yes, they are in the room having a good laugh. Then do you know something else that is funny about Africa, especially Kenya, the country I come from? Our streets are loud. Ish, I'm telling you, our streets are so loud, such that you're walking in the street and you have like every other shop is playing its loud music. Picture that, my goodness. If that is not chaos, I don't know what that is. Every shop is playing its own kind of music. So imagine a street with like 10 shops, another 10, and each shop is playing its own kind of music and at a high volume. If that is not anarchy, but do you know that is what Africans, I think, tend to find quite interesting. I think we just love having this loud thing going on around us and in us. I don't know, maybe. Because even in Nairobi, we have these public means we call matatus. If you're not Kenyan, by the way, if you're not Kenyan, the day you visit the city of Nairobi, please don't miss to ride in a matatu. You will have an experience you will never forget. But I need to warn you, those things are so loud, you literally feel your heart shifting. Your heart will be shifting, my friend, I'm telling you. You'll hear like your heart is moving to the left, then it comes back to the right, and then it moves up, and then it goes down. Because the kind of bass, the loud music in that, and it's basically a minibus. They're not even usually that big. They're usually not so big. It's like about, I am not so sure about the seater, but it's about 36-seater. Yeah, around there. And guess what it has? It has a big screen at the front, and sometimes you'll have the screens at the top. And in front of you, if you're seated behind a seat, that seat has a screen. On the sides, you have screens. Then it's loud music. Why wouldn't your heart be shifting? Hey, your heart will be moving. Hey? I am at an age where I don't think I want to ride in those things so much, because let me tell you, you start feeling like, hey, this thing will kill me before my time. Anyway, it's usually quite an adventure and it's quite an experience. But I think as you age, you start looking for the ones that are not so loud. That is how you get to know you are getting old in Nairobi, by the way. When you find yourself inclined more into the more quiet matatus, like we call them matatus, and probably you're even running away from matatus, you're preferring buses. Oh, you are old. You are old. That's a story for another day. Forget about us getting old. Let's not even talk about getting old. That's not even what we are supposed to be discussing right now. We are not getting old. Now let me tell you something else about the culture, our Kikuyu culture. I'm Kikuyu from Kenya. Kenya has many tribes. One of the tribes is Kikuyu. We have this meal we call githeri. Githeri is a combination of beans and maize. And let me tell you, God help you, that maize not to be the hard maize. What do you call hard maize? That is not green maize. You know, maize that is dry, not fresh maize, not green, not the one that is that you squeeze like this and it gives milk. Can you imagine growing up and you're like a 3-year-old or even a 2-year-old and you're eating this hard maize? Hard maize meaning, I would like to use the word hard loosely because it's, I think, a hard dry maize, because after it's harvested, they put it outside to dry for a while, and then it's put together after it's dried up and probably stored somewhere, and then that grain or that seed is basically dry, hard, like you won't believe. And then the beans are also hard. So imagine this githeri is for is maize beans, hard maize, hard beans. Then you're making it. Forget about pressure cooker. I'm talking about being real, authentic African. If you're cooking that githeri with the traditional jiko, if anything, maybe let's say you're cooking it with the firewood. If we are to go African, like totally extreme African, you don't even probably have the other charcoal jiko, like cooking stove in our country is referred to as jiko. If you don't have that, let's say maybe you're cooking this githeri with firewood. Do you know that will be a whole day affair? That is just how extreme it can get. You're cooking a whole meal the whole day, for crying out loud. Are you going to do anything else with your life? That is how our grandmothers, and I believe there are still people cooking githeri with firewood. Because, I mean, that's just being African. Something that I don't think you would find in first world countries. First world countries, you're lucky people. All right. Another thing that makes us quite special as Africans. Growing up, your parent, other than leaving responsibilities to you to take care of your younger siblings, don't ask me how I used to survive, but trust me, I would make a meal. At least I would boil rice. I remember boiling rice, and we eat that rice with milk. You're putting milk in rice, and that's a whole meal. Or you make, okay, I don't think I made ugali. Ugali is maize meal. I don't know if you're familiar with maize meal. What do you call it? Yeah, maize meal. and it's just basically stirred up until it hardens up and it becomes ugali. We call it in Kenya ugali. So you make this ugali, then you add milk. Hey, kids of nowadays, I don't think even they know these kind of meals. The kind of meals we used to eat while growing up, that is a whole meal. Milk, ugali with milk, and you cut it to pieces, and that's a whole meal. So I was telling you about growing up. Your parent, your mother specifically, African mothers, woe unto you if an African mother decides to punish you. It shall be a punishment of biblical portions. The kind of whooping. Do you know an African mother can literally tell you in the face, because that's what we would be told when you were growing up. I am going to beat you. I am going to kill you and go report myself to the police that I have killed you. Ay! African mothers. An African mother will be so sarcastic. You break a cup in the kitchen, let's assume you're washing dishes, and they literally hear that's a cup that has fallen or a plate. Do you know what an African mother will tell you? Break all of them. In fact, I hear you have broken one plate. In fact, all of the plates in the cupboard, break all of them. Break all of them. Finish all of them. Hey, an African mother will come back home and find that you have not made a meal for yourselves. Because you've been busy playing games out there. You know, African kids will be all over the place playing all manner of games. Don't forget you are playing with no shoes on. And as I am talking of African, I'm talking of African of not the civilized now. You know, of course, times have really changed. But those of us that were growing up in the 80s and growing up far from the city can relate. I'm not talking about those ones that grew up in the city. Those ones can't relate. This is not about you, because you people don't know the hustle. You don't know what exactly it means to play outside with no shoes and going to school, walking from home to the school that is probably even 1 kilometer away with no shoes on. You know, that kind of a thing. I'm just trying to highlight the authentic African way of doing things that is still actually happening. Yes, you're in 2025, but do you know these things I'm giving here, like stories, they're still happening in the rural areas. It's not like it's something that you wouldn't find happening, by the way. This is quite serious. I may be talking of this whole thing, like I'm just discussing it here, like stories that used to happen. These things are still happening. Yeah. A moment of silence. No, there's nothing to be sad about. That's just what makes Africans. So I was telling you about this thing of a mother, African mother, giving you a whooping. Now, let's assume she had gone to the market, left you people playing, gave you instructions that make sure you wash the house, yes, because you've been given responsibilities. Remember, it doesn't matter how young or how old you are as an African child, you grow up with responsibilities on you. Like there's that person that goes to graze the kettles, there are those people there's that person that is supposed to wash the clothes. By the way, we wash our clothes using our hands back in Africa. Like, it's a good percentage of people that don't use washing machine. Yeah, I know, civilization, but do you know, in Africa, it's not automatic to find a washing machine in the house. Basically, like a good percentage of the houses in Africa use their hands. Now, before I go back to the story of a mother coming back from the market, let me tell you how we wash our clothes back home. Just in case you've never been to Africa. This is a story specifically for people that have not been to Africa. If you are an African, you totally can relate. You feel me. You know this thing. You know, you can relate. But if in case you've never been to Africa and you're not African, let me give you a I give you the whole picture of how we wash our clothes back home. A basin of water, cold water, because we don't have warm water running on our taps. In fact, we don't even, in Africa, it's not obvious and it's not common to find a house with tap water. This water probably had to be fetched from 1 kilometer away, either from a borehole, community borehole, or from a river, or probably a pond. So wherever they got the water from, either tap, it's cold water. Like you don't have the luxury to warm water for clothes, so it is cold water, whether it's rainy season or dry season or hot season or whichever season you're in, it is cold water. Then, basin 1, basin 1, oh my goodness, let it not be a heap of clothes. Hey, God help you that it is not a heap of clothes that people have been wearing for a whole 1 week or 2 weeks because for some reason you could not wash your clothes. Maybe when the heap is not so big. So you have basin 1 with water, basin 2. So you're washing, scrubbing your clothes with bare hands. If it is even jeans, you know how hard jeans can be, or even probably even washing blankets that day. So scrub, and sometimes even the detergent ruins your, like it is too harsh for your skin. Those of us that react to detergents, I don't know why sometimes they have to make detergents so harsh. You're scrubbing, you do not have an option but to scrub these clothes. You're washing, then you move from that basin to basin 2, rinse, basin 3, rinse again. And you have to take care of that water. That water you cannot afford to be rinsing until, I don't know, the water is sparkling clear. No, sometimes you don't have the luxury and even the energy. You've been bending washing these clothes. We bend washing clothes in Africa. Imagine now if you have a whole heap of clothes to deal with and you're using your hands. So now let me take you back now to where I was talking about a mother coming from the market. They find you've probably not washed those clothes or you've not cooked or something. Then they will tell you. For instance, if you have not cooked, do you know what an African mother will ask you? You remember I told you about sarcasm that is with African parents. She'll basically ask you, oh, you have not cooked because I carried all the saucepans with me and I took them with me to the market, eh? That is why you have not cooked, eh? Oh, now I have brought back the saucepans. Then, are you people ready to cook? Like there's a way we talk and then you're like, is that supposed to be an insult? Is it supposed to make me feel hungry or am I about to be whooped? That kind of a thing. That's just being African. And another thing that now makes us Africans. Now, forget about now how we grow up as Africans and this whole thing of African mothers and their kind of whooping that can simply kill you, then get you back to life again. Hey, an African mother can kill you, then bring you back to life. Forget about that. Then, there's something else that is so funny about Africans. Africans, it's like we have this thing of trust but verify. I don't know what has made us this kind of people that are not trusting that easily. Like we don't trust that easily. I think we've been through such hardships until life has made us these people that, this is too nice. This is too good. Why is it so easy? Why is it too good? Like you have to question everything that is happening around you, which is not such a nice thing. But I think also the conditions in our countries don't even help us become these positive people. Corruption alone in Africa has taken so much from us, the people, until I believe it all starts with us not even having trust. We don't trust our leaders. We don't trust, because when your money is being embezzled and you see people throwing around money in big amounts and probably even buying themselves private jets and all that kind of stuff at the expense of putting up good hospitals or good schools for the community. I think that would probably give you that feeling of, I don't trust. Because the minute your money is being misused, I think money is such a sentimental thing. If someone messes around with your money, I don't think you can really trust them much with something else. I don't know. I tend to believe money is such a sentimental thing, and because you have really worked hard for it, even if it is tax going off, you would like to see that tax being used nicely. So probably, I am just thinking, maybe, just maybe, that's why Africans are not these people that trust easily. Why do I feel like we are these people that don't trust easily? And I tend to think also, doubting Thomas, the disciple, must have probably been African or had African blood in him. Because really, I mean, that guy really doubted everything. So imagine with an African, here is an African. They basically turn off their car, they jump out, they use the key remote, the fob, they lock the door. Nicely, they lock their cars, they lock their car nicely. Do you know what an African would do? An African, for those of us that have now agreed to embrace civilization and a better way of doing things, at least we are trying not to continue being this kind of people. But let me tell you, an African can literally lock their car, press the key nicely, the remote, and before they move an inch, they will lift the handle to see if the car is locked. I don't trust this thing. What if it doesn't lock my car properly and I come back and I don't find my car? We have been shown things in Africa. I told you, it is a thing I think probably our leaders are doing to us that kills the trust in us. Okay? An African will see a good sticker on the door. Push. An African does not trust that sticker. Will try to first pull the door. Hey, this sticker could be telling me to push the door and probably I can pull it. You basically see someone trying to pull the door that is written nicely. Push. Yes. Hey. An African will go to the ATM machine. Hey. They go in nicely. They actually look very pretty, handsome. Yeah. Walk to the ATM machine, remove their ATM card and put it in the machine, key in the pin nicely, and it chucks the money. An African won't move, ain't moving an inch. Wait a minute, you ATM. I don't trust you. I am standing right here to count my money. And they will literally stand there counting their notes to see if this machine gave them the proper number of notes. Hey! People have stolen from us, I told you. These people have stolen from us. I'm not mentioning names, but we know leaders that have been stealing from us. If you're an African watching this, I don't need to even give that in details. You know, I do not even need to expound. You know, our leaders are special. So, you grew up in a country where money disappears. How can you trust an ATM machine? How? Oh. Do you know, in that public transport, the matatus I told you about, you give money, then you want to tell me you give out, like, for instance, 1,000 note or 200 Kenya shillings note, and you given back change, and you will not take the time to count. If you don't count your money, you don't count your change. Trust you me, you will alight from that matatu, that public means, and you will find yourself with less money. Now that is how you've been conditioned by the circumstance. So next time you come across an African and they are loud, they have this colorful outfit, wild hair, because also our hair speaks loudly. Our hair, our hair is hard. We personally like to I like to refer my hair as, I like to say my hair is as hard as steel wool. And with an African texture, this African hair texture, if you position it looking right, it will stay that way the whole day. It is obedient, it is that cooperative, because does it have a choice but to stay facing one side, because it is a hard-headed hair. Hard-headed hair. So imagine now, I have given you a good, like a whole framework of what makes an African. All the way from when they are a toddler, they were taught to harden up, to take care of their siblings, to even wash the house at the age of 4, to even cook a whole meal. Here they are growing up, getting a whooping from their African mother and being asked, okay, you did not cook because I took all the saucepans with me. Oh, because I took the fire with me, that's why you people did not cook, eh? Oh, so you want to keep playing here because you think you will eat that game you are playing there if now you grow up like that. Then as you go to high school, you find the other older generation. If you're in Form 1, I don't know what you call the first stage in your country. In our country, Kenya, we call it Form 1. If you're in Form 1, you find the higher classes, the other people in the other classes ahead of you, treating you like this person that has just dropped from the skies, and they want to toughen you. Like in our days, we used to call it to be monorized. Hey, kids of nowadays, by the way, I think they are not going through what we went through, some of us. We used to just, you report to Form 1 and you're made to do crazy stuff. What would actually pass for abuse. That's why even schools had to really pay much attention to that, because honestly, that was abuse. Then imagine a scenario where you are a Form 1 and all of you are made to lie down in the dormitory where you sleep, the hostels, if you call them hostels. You're made to lie down on a straight line for the Form 4s and the Form 3s to walk on your back because they don't want to walk on the floor. How is that not abuse? And then they tell you people do not deserve to eat bread. You buy bread with your money, then you give it to the other Form 3s and Form 4s. Those people that went to school in the 90s, you can relate to this story. But thank goodness now we have laws that are really governing. There's no much of that kind of vibe in high schools, because that's abuse. Would you want your child to really be put through that? The African mother in me would show up and create a scene in that school. Ooh, you walk on whose back? Hey. Anyway, so imagine that is a high school. When you finish high school, you go to university, you're a fresher. Those of you that went to universities and you're a fresher, you know what you're put through. Then you finish, you go, you face the crazy world of leaders stealing from you, your boss treating you in one way or the other. The streets are harsh, they are loud music, like I told you, in every street. And you just become hardened and toughened by nature. So the next time you meet an African and they are sounding too loud, please understand it is not our nature. Probably it's the eardrums are no longer working. Maybe the streets have made our ears a bit. We are losing our sense of hearing. Or if you see us walking around with hair like this, just understand it is hard as steel wool, and we don't have the luxury to do this thing of you wash your hair and you just blow dry and it is soft and you walk like how, I usually admire Indians. Oh, hey, Indians have good hair. Indians, black, soft, never tangles, even white. basically Asians and white people. I really like the soft hair that never tangles. I don't know if it tangles. I don't know. Maybe you tell me if it I don't know. I could probably be thinking it never tangles, but I don't think it would tangle to the degree of our hair. Our hair, put water in it. Just be prepared to do something with it after that, because once the hair touches water, it becomes a situation where you have to figure a way of either living with it like that, as entangled as it is, so that you have that rugged look, which is now fashionable. Or if you want to have it straight, my good friend, you'll have to obviously blow dry or do perm, or just let it be as it is. So, Africans are special in their own way. That is just me, just reminiscing and liking the fact that we are special in our own way. So like I told you, if you ever meet an African, you come across an African and they are looking a bit rough, probably they had a rough, what do you call it? A rough upbringing. Yes, my English did not disappoint. Upbringing. And they're just being rough because they were raised in a rough way. If someone was grazing cattle at the age of 5, and they have to figure out this bull that is stubborn and probably the bull is even threatening their life, or there is this. I remember in our grandmother's home, there was this crazy goat. He got that thing. If you get into the compound, it's like it used to just look at you and see, hey, you are walking into this compound. I don't like you. I feel like I want to fight you. Then it just decides, I am coming after you. I hated that thing. The day it was slaughtered, in Africa we slaughter animals. We slaughter animals. Maybe you don't slaughter animals in your country. In Africa, it is natural to slaughter a goat. By the way, I've slaughtered a chicken. I don't know about you. I don't know whether you've ever slaughtered an animal in your life. This may sound cruel. I am sorry, but in Africa, we slaughter chicken. Yeah. And it becomes a meal. And you are told by your mother, run after the chicken. Can you imagine it's free range? It's not that it's even locked up. It is free range. The stubborn cock is walking about. Then you are told, hey, go after that one. That is our lunch. It is about health. You figure how to catch that cock before lunchtime around 1. Come up with all the strategies you have in your head to make sure you trap that cock. The running would run. Do you basically ask your fellow kids in the neighborhood to help you? Hey, trap it from that angle. I'll also try and trap it from this side, because you literally try to entice this thing with maize. It does not see you like that anymore. It doesn't feel you. It just wants to keep running because it has this sense telling it that, hey, these people are after my neck. We slaughter goats. We slaughter cows. And in a very ruthless manner, especially in Kenya, there is a tribe called Maasai. Those people will drink even raw blood. My tribe Kikuyu, I am not so sure if people drink raw blood. Maybe you tell me. But all I know is that Kikuyu tribe, we cook blood and we will cook it and we'll probably make mutura. Let me now tell you something about mutura. How can I forget about mutura? Those of you that come from Kenya, there is this African sausage. Africans have their sausage, if you didn't know. Sausage that is homemade. We do not even need any sophisticated way of making our own sausage. Sausage is made from large intestine, the colon. If you have slaughtered the cow, slaughtered the goat, get hold of the intestine, wash it. And by the way, there will also be matumbo on the side. Matumbo now is the intestine. There's a way you can cook them. The part that has like towel kind of feel, that's meal in itself. In Africa, we don't throw anything, by the way. We'll eat chicken, the head. We will eat the chicken. The feet. We'll eat the neck. And everyone in the house will have a piece. This the person that loves what do you call these feet? Picture yourself eating those things. My goodness, if you've never eaten those things, it's a torture because you're trying to get meat from that one. Is it a toe? Are those even toes? Are they fingers? What do you call them? Those ones. You're trying to eat a piece of meat here. How do you even? What is that you're even eating? What is that even? Is there even meat? Then it is tasty. Beak, the head. Remember, you're eating even the chicken head. We don't throw anything. So you're eating. If it's a cock, this part is meat. This part that hangs down here is meat. Then you'll eat around the eye, around here. Then you'll also probably figure out where else meat is on that head. Then, you remember I told you about African sausage. Let's go back to African sausage. So this intestine, you stuff every bit of meat. You put probably pieces of blood that is cooked. Cooked blood will look like minced meat, by the way, but not as minced meat, but it will probably look like minced meat. You put, then there is probably whatever else you want to put in there. That thing is tasty. Oh my goodness. Back in Kenya, we call it mutura. Mutura is good. Yeah, that really took me way back. Yeah, and like I told you, we never lose anything. We don't lose anything when we slaughter a chicken. An African will make sure the head, the intestines, chicken. Does a chicken have intestines? It does. I think it does. But it has a gizzard that is full of sand. That thing is a torture if you don't wash it properly. Then there's a way you have to make sure after slaughtering the bile. If the bile bursts on your meat, do you know you'll have to throw away the entire piece of chicken, and it is Christmas Day? So if you had been assigned to slaughter, then you're chopping the pieces up, then the bile happens to burst, you'll have to figure out what you will serve your family, because honestly speaking, it's not a good thing. Yeah, Christmas in Africa is usually you slaughter something, then you'll make, in our country, Kenya, we have to have chapati. Chapati is basically like what Indians do called roti. Yeah. Or something that goes to look like naan bread. Naan bread, it's from which side of the world? I am not so sure, but I think naan bread. But it's circular. Yeah, chapatis. Yeah. So I think I've given you basically every other thing about African culture. And the next time you meet an African, just give them a smile. They may be suffering PTSD. Just give them a smile. Probably they are dealing with that kind of life. They are coming from a place. Yeah. So that's just what being African means. I hope you got to learn something. If you're not African, now you probably look at Africans in a different way, from a place of understanding their culture. And if you're African, I hope I brought some memories and you got to remember a number of things that probably you used to do or you still do. And yep, so for now, I'm out.